I was called a liar. Hi, I'm Alina. I'm a former product lead at YouTube, and I wrote a book called How Platforms Work. And a couple of weeks ago, I went on Jimbal podcast to talk about the book. The host asked me about shadow banning. I paused because in the vast majority of cases, what creators call shadow banning isn't shadow banning at all, and it's a bit uncomfortable to accept. So let's talk about it. Let's get into it. Just a quick disclaimer. I'm not a YouTube, Instagram, or TikTok representative. I don't work for them. I'm not affiliated with them. I wrote a book and I took all the information from all the public sources that you can also find online, and I'm going to leave some of the links below. I have zero incentives to protect those platforms, and if anything, I'm eager to figure things out and also to help creators like myself to perform better on the platforms. I got a bit of grilled in the comments, which I totally get. Underperformance is real. Creators struggle to understand why some of their videos or channels underperform while others are just skyrocket. Creators think there is some kind of a switch that can be flipped and their videos will start to perform better. But that's not the case. Videos and channels can underperform because of millions of different reasons. It might be packaging, it might be topic, it might be overall low audience interest, but people still don't want to accept some of those things, and it's easier to believe in secret forces behind the algorithm. So today I want to walk through what shadow banning really is, what you're mistaken for it, and how to avoid those mistakes. Let's start with the fact that platforms have zero business incentive to ban or block you. If anything, these platforms make a lot of money from people's attention. Let it be YouTube, Instagram, or TikTok. The longer the watch time, the longer people stay on the platforms, the better for the business. Anything that draws attention is actually good for the platforms. You won't be banned for your opinions. Imagine that social media is like a supermarket. The more people with broader tastes and preferences they can serve, the better for them. But there are things that violate community guidelines and platform policies, violate copyright. There are things that are simply controversial or can't be shown to all audiences. For example, audiences under 18 years old. So all of that stuff just can't be recommended broadly. So in general, business incentives are aligned. Your job is to provide content to the platforms, and the algorithm or recommendation system job is to find relevant audiences for them to stay longer on the platform. That's the frame I want you to hold till the end of this video, because it actually changes the question that you should be asking. So here's an unpleasant truth that nobody wants to hear. The recommendation system or the algorithm isn't some kind of a mysterious hand that steers everything behind the scenes. It's actually the human interest. It's the audience interest, and everything is driven by the audience interest, whether you like it or not. It's just a mirror, and sometimes I wish human interest would be more sophisticated or deep, but in many cases, recommendation systems just reflect the human interest at scale and what a lot of people are interested in. So in your head, replace the word algorithm with the word audience, and everything will immediately make sense. It's not that the algorithm or recommendation system is biased against you, it's probably the audience. And it's not that they're biased, but they probably don't give enough attention to your content. Let's get into why this happens. So when a creator says, oh, the algorithm doesn't recommend me, the more important question is, did I actually manage to catch my audience attention? Being banned or shadow banning is an extremely comfortable position to be in, because as soon as you accept that you need to do something with your content, that's very uncomfortable, but that gives you back your control. And if you take your content journey seriously, tap into that position a bit more. So now you actually have power to do something about your content and engaging with your audience a bit more. Don't treat the algorithm as the enemy, because if anything, algorithm helps other people who wouldn't discover you otherwise to see your content and for you to get discovered. If your views are low, the more likely explanation of that is not shadow banning. It's that the video wasn't packaged well, that the video didn't get enough audience interest, that it wasn't engaging enough for people to stay on it and actually watch it till the end. I know that's not a very satisfying conspiracy theory. I'm sorry. I know what's going to be the next set of comments. I posted exactly the same content on two different channels, and on one channel it flopped, on one channel it performed really well. So what happened? Again, you probably won't like my answer, but it just means that one channel's audience was more relevant and more interested in the content that you're posting. When you upload something, the content gets surfaced in front of the subscribers and people who might be interested in your content. And it's up to them whether they want to click on it and start watching it. It just means that when the content was surfaced to the audience of one channel, they felt more interested in it rather than audience of the previous channel that wasn't really into it. There might be different reasons reasons for it. It's case by case basis. For example, one channel didn't have a lot of uploads recently, another one was very active and you answered the comments. Two different channels with two different subscriber bases can react very different to identical videos. That's what system was built to do. Make sure that it finds relevant people for your content. So let's talk about things that are considered to be shadow banning but actually aren't shadow banning. Number one, your video wasn't packaged well. When you upload a video, the majority of your effort should go into your titles and thumbnails. This is something that audience immediately sees, and this is what encourages them to click and start watching your video. If the title and thumbnail aren't catchy enough, they probably won't click, no matter how well your video is done or produced. Unfortunately, it's not the case. These are the first things that they see on the platform. Number two, any kind of restrictions. So if you're talking about anything sensitive in the video, if it's age restricted, obviously your video won't be recommended very broadly. It can't be recommended to audiences under 18. It can't be recommended to people who are not logged in. You sometimes restrict your discoverability yourself when you talk about sensitive topics. Very often it correlates with advertiser-friendly guidelines and monetization limitations, and people immediately think that their performance was limited by the monetization setting. It's actually the other way around. So if the video cannot be recommended to people broadly, highly likely it also can't be monetized. The next one is overall content strategy changes. So if you change something recently in your content, the topic, the packaging. I had a case when creators' performance just dropped in a couple of days because creator changed their thumbnails and their titles at once. So don't do drastic experiments. If you're experimenting, try to do this gradually rather than doing everything at once. Audience seasonality. It's very typical for some channels to grow in some seasons and completely decline in other seasons. It might depend on time of the year. It might depend public holidays, on overall people's engagement and how much time people spend in front of their screens in a particular time of the year, of the day, of the week. All of that stuff matters, and take that into account. I had so many cases in my practice where it had nothing to do with creator videos and creator output, but had everything to do with the timing. Planning your recent content. For example, if you had some success with the audience previously and then suddenly it started to decline, check two things. Check the topic and check if you change something in the packaging. These things very often correlate. You might be surprised when you think, oh, I didn't really change anything in the topic, I'm talking about the same thing, but you might start talking about this thing from a different angle, from a different perspective. The existing audience might not like that very much or might not want to engage with it anymore. There are various reasons why the decline might be happening. The topic popularity that is declining. I spoke about it in a couple of my shorts. If the topic is declining, and you can check it in Google Trends, let's say there is a video game that you're playing and you're a gaming creator, and in time the popularity of a game is just going down, it means that your channel will go down, because it's really hard to swim against the declining tide. If you're always hyping and making videos about some hype topics, it's very likely that your channel will also decline with the decline of the topic. So be careful and don't build your whole identity on the topic that will eventually lose its popularity. I know what's going to be in the comments, and of course there will be people who's going to say that there's a switch that can be flipped, but I think it's important to think critically about your content and about your creative career. And if you want to know more examples and more things about the platforms, check out my book. And that's how platforms actually work. Subscribe, leave your comments, and see you in the next video.